Temple, the Red Protoss player from Psystorm Gaming. He's PiLiPiLi. Quite a task ahead of him.
I would say so. He has quite the mountain to climb and then hopefully blow up, actually. It's his opponent representing Envious. It's Polt. And notice, again, he can't see, man. I'm telling you, we'll see how this develops.
It's hard to play whilst literally blind. I've only done it once myself, but, you know.
Yeah.
I played Mech and Heart of the Swarm, so it was a free win. But very interested to see how he goes about probably just tearing apart with lots of drops.
Are you actually interested, Nate, in this Polt TvP?
You know what? So here's the thing, right? So if you're playing against someone who's
played the same
even
way
level
forever.
or better than you, it's hard to perfectly execute a build. So what I will say is that from this best of 5, at the very least, when the replay pack is released, you're going to have the cleanest TvP builds to study, because I don't think PiLi's going to be able to throw Polt off his game at all. So at the very least, you'll be like, hey man, I've got replays up to 10 minutes of perfect play. He didn't really do anything to disrupt him, so learn from this.
In Polt's game, I mean, joking aside, his TvP has been kind of his staple matchup. He's also, I mean, he's known for all of his matchups, but I would say it's his TvP and then probably his TvT. And his TvP is pretty simple. It boils down to a few concepts, and one of them is he's going to be all over the map, dropping and applying pressure to your second, to your third, whatever, but he never really has his army all in one spot. And then the other thing, too, is he's kind of like a abstract timing guy. Polt has been the favorite in most of his matchups. That's just kind of the way it is.
Yep.
And the way he handles that is he delays his third base and just has a bigger army, because with that micro, with that control, with his decision-making, it very rarely serves him wrong. And that's what makes him so difficult for us to be serious and be like, well, I think PiLiPiLi's got a chance. It's like, no. This is going to be PiLiPiLi's strongest matchup, but he's facing a guy who over the course of 6 years has won tournaments as big and small across all the globe based off of this principle, basically.
Yep, I think that's I'm really glad that you brought that up. I feel like it's not discussed enough. Polt plays very differently. He has a style that's not super out of the world. It's like, okay, he's just really good at macroing, splitting up his forces and getting those drops in. But especially now that he hasn't been playing in the Korean scene, he tailors all of his builds to basically say, if you think that because I'm better than you, you should just cheese me, you are dead wrong. I will delay my third, I will delay upgrades, I will always have enough units to kill any attack that you could possibly throw at me, so hit me with your best shot. And
that's why he's so consistent, because you literally have to outplay Polt to beat him. I actually, and you're like the historian, so you have to tell me, but I can't think to a time that a Protoss was able to cheese him out. I actually just cannot think of it.
It doesn't really happen. I mean, basically, maybe if you watched his stream before the Adept got nerfed and he's like, okay, well, 2 shots Marines, okay, even I can't really work around that. But that was like the only time I even saw him be like, I don't like playing TvP. This is actually kind of frustrating.
Like WCS Season 2 last year, Hearthstone went with 2 base all-ins against him, and there was like moments there where he was ahead, he was okay.
A few shots,
But even then, Polt just kind of
we did that caster thing. We tried to hype it up like this could be it, and then Polt's like, no, I'm Polt. Sorry.
I just win all the time.
Yeah, winning is kind of my thing.
The reigning WCS champion, by the way. He did overcome Snoot in that final. Snoot's still alive in this, so we'll have to see how far this goes. But you know, I know we bring it back to this, and you can call it fake caster hype if you want, but I am legitimately excited about this. This is an opportunity for PiLiPiLi. Polt is in that weird spot where everyone expects him to win. If he doesn't, it's hugely embarrassing for him. So if there is pressure, it's on him. PiLiPiLi, you could lose 0-3 here pretty hard, and nobody would be super surprised. So you can only really surprise people by having a good series.
Yep, I think that's at least something that's got to be... I feel like it's still really stressful, though, because you're on a big stage. And you kind of know that every single person thinks you're going to lose.
Getting Polt in the round of 32, by the way,
that's also just like...
It's the bubble match. The winner of this gets $1,000, which... You know, it's not quite the 16,000 for first, but that's still a pretty decent chunk of change. To face Polt for that money is like, oh, geez, can't get lucky.
I mean, it just happens, you know. Somebody has to play Polt in the round of 32. There's no buy round.
This is the guy.
There's no buy round unless the guy that gets matched against him just decides, like, all right, well, you know off to 6th Street. See you guys later.
There's some really good barbecue out here. I'm going to go check it out. You guys can save the time.
So as far as build order-wise goes, PiLiPiLi isn't doing anything super unusual. He's open with blank. You could use this defensively. He's getting the quick third base, moving into Resonating Glaives, but, you know, Polt has a way of always being where you don't want him to be. There's no bunker up front, so maybe this pressure does something, but his third base is about to get hit by that stim bio attack.
Widow Mine does go down, but there is not observer. He's able to blink in there. He's
Okay.
going to do some damage, and actually this is really nice.
Yeah, he's pulling the army back, but if he gets sandwiched here inside between that natural on the left side, he needs to be able to blink to the side, and there we go, right into the bio. The stim Marines and Mars kill almost every single stalker.
And he just started to target down weird things there. Like the blink was unfortunate,
He
but
traded his whole army for a medevac.
he stutter microed into, and I thought he was going for the medevac. I think he did a little bit. Then he went for the army a little bit. He ended up trading all his stalkers. And spoiler alert, guys, if you're a Protoss and you lose all your stalkers with the blink stalker opening going for a third, you are super, super dead. PiLiPiLi had a nice moment there. Unfortunately, he blinked at a wrong angle to Polt's army coming back, which, by the way, is oftentimes really bad for Terran. When they come back, it's just mitigating losses. But in this case, it was turning the tide.
He went so far into that mineral line that by the time he could get out, the bio army was back, and then you eat stim shots. As a Terran player, you kill like 7 or 8 stalkers like that, you're like, okay, this game is over. I can send a drop into your main right now if I want. You have a mothership core here and a pylon. That's great. Well, this is Frozen Temple. Your natural is forever and a half away.
Yeah, and even the photon overcharge is just not going to be enough. PiLiPiLi sustaining too many losses there. Does tap out. Polt taking care of business, and it's game 2.
Yep. I mean, this match didn't get any easier for him, that's for sure. So as we get into game number 2, if you've got a weird build, man, I mean, I respect the 3 Nexus play. This is not the series where you bust out your macro builds if you really want to have a chance at winning. In the bottom right of Prion Terraces, we have the Red Protoss players, Psystorm, PiLiPiLi.
Some of the right ideas in that game number 1, but unfortunately the execution left him. His opponent, no stranger to success, one of the most winning StarCraft 2 players of all time. It is Envious Polt.
Yep, his first tournament on an Envious banner, joining his good friend Violet.
Violet, a fantastic CSGO team. They've got teams across other games as well, and they're making waves in the news, moving to North Carolina to build a facility. Really cool stuff to see there. All the best to Team Envious, and awesome to see Polt getting picked up with a team, by the way, as well. He is a big name player, and it's
very highly respected.
Yes, he's done nothing but good. He gives entertaining interviews, and he crushes it. And he crushes it the right way. Like, he won in Korea, and he's winning outside of Korea. He's just a darn good player. But PiLiPiLi is going to have to reach into his magic bag and pull out some interesting stuff. The nice thing about this map is one of the things they did change kind of a while ago was the natural is a gold base. So it's no longer quite as stressful to extend yourself towards another base, and you have a gold right away.
It's a lot easier to saturate the natural since you don't need as many workers for it. It's like the primary benefit of the gold base. If you wanted to attack, you wouldn't need to build as many probes before he fired up his gateways. And at the same time, Polt wouldn't need as many SCVs to get all that barracks production rolling, which he is just so very good at. And thinking about this match, it's just so difficult for someone like PiLiPiLi. And the thing is, it only bothers me a little bit because I know he's really good. He's better than most players that you're going to run into on the NA ladder. But you have to play against him like Polt. He's going to make you look bad. He will make pretty much anyone that he plays against look bad unless it's in the tournament finals, unless you were able to reach him there. And then he'll still find a way to make you look bad pretty badly.
It's a really good point, Nate. It's actually kind of a funny, kind of built-in part of StarCraft. Like, there's a lot of reasons why StarCraft has such a huge kind of viewer base. Like, a lot of people like to watch the game versus the amount of people that play the game. There's actually a lot of people, and I feel like that is kind of special to StarCraft, and certainly it occurs in other esport games as well, but in StarCraft you hear about so many people who are like, I love watching StarCraft, I have a history with it, but I don't play it as much because of the thing that you're describing right now, and it happens across all levels, and this is just another level. PiLiPiLi is better than 99% of your top-notch North American players, but even at that stage, he is tiers and levels below someone like Polt, who has been winning the biggest of tournaments and accruing $422,000 in prize earnings over the course of 6 years. Like, Polt's been here since the beginning of StarCraft 2, and he's always been winning.
Yeah, it's, like I said, it's pretty much one of the worst draws you could have possibly gotten in this bracket, I guess, aside from Hydra. I think anybody else, I would say PiLiPiLi has a reasonable chance at an upset, but it's just very difficult here. So he's opening up with the Twilight Council into the robotics facility. This doesn't scream mega cheese all into me, Jeff.
Nope. He's going to go with that blink opening, which is just kind of your solid bread and butter. Like, I'm good to drop defend. I'm good to perhaps get aggressive if I need to. Good scout here, and he does see a bit of a different opening from Polt, by the way. He's kind of famous for his 3 barracks, kind of starport heavy opening, likes to have map control. But you know what's kind of fun too is in the last year or so, Polt has been shaking it up. Like we kind of talked about how predictable he is and how he does the kind of tried and true. I think a lot of that's still true, but we have seen him mix it up, including at WCS Winter Championships, where he actually cheesed a few times, which is very anti-Polt.
That was one of the strangest tournaments that we've seen out of Polt. And I mean, the TvP style that he's been playing here, TvP style that a lot of Korean Terrans especially have been switching towards, is more on that 2 racks play. You're like, okay, you get, because before it was you open reactor barracks into factory into starport. Now Terrans kind of play that second gas a little bit later. You can still do the mine drop if you want, but you get that second barracks so much earlier that the follow-up stim attack is way faster than it ever was before. And that's not even, that's like a strategy that we never saw happen in Heart of the Swarm, which I feel like, you know, looking back, that's something that I feel like it could have fit there as well.
Sure.
But the focus, I guess, for this matchup in particular was very different, since the Protoss wasn't expanding all that fast, and you needed 3 barracks to hold most pressure.
And they were rushing to Colossus, and they had a photon overcharge that wasn't based off of pylons. It was this range 15 off the Nexus. So like a fast drop and kind of low unit count play. If a couple of force fields happen at the ramp and you're not getting any damage in, all of a sudden you're facing Colossus, and it's like, well, I need to take a third, produce bio, and now make Vikings, otherwise I die. And that's why I think they shied away from that. But Polt does get spotted here moving out, but he has a pretty sizable force. We do see PiLiPiLi trying for that third base, and that third base is fairly exposed. If he can hold and defend here, he'll be in fantastic shape. Nice blink micro, getting the shields low and then backing away so they can recharge. Polt not really committing to this, and he's going to wait for his medevacs to come out. He's going to have a sizable bio force, but kind of the big question here then is if in that time PiLiPiLi can defend, he's going to be in phenomenal position.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same follow-up that he had, and right here, this is the same exact time where on the last map, he ran face full into a bunch of bios. Stalker gets picked off, 3 Stalkers in the front have no shields, the Marauders and Marines can pick those off even more easily. Good blink back, so this is, oh, well, actually a little bit of forward stepping there. Gonna lose all the Stalkers again, maybe?
He's so aggressive. He goes for the Marauders, which is not a bad idea, but there's such a huge swell of units behind that it's like, actually, dude, you don't know this, but you need pylons, you need adepts, and he knows that now.
You're not trading. You are actually about to get just...
trucked.
Yeah, pretty much.
Trekked. It's like combining truck and wrecked at the same time, dude.
Trekked.
It doesn't sound as cool, though, because it sounds like you're like riding a bike.
I think trucked is okay. We're in Texas. He got trucked. Yeah.
People get trucked here. I like it. All right. Drop is going to be the play here from Polt, and it's actually in a position where there's a photon overcharge, then a blink forward. It's a very aggressive blink forward.
Get the medevac. You can keep the army from being able to retreat. You know, those 2 Marines and that Marauder, they are dead.
Not a bad move there. A couple more medevacs pulling out, and again, this is Polt's style. You'll notice he is taking a third behind this, but it's after the Protoss, and that third that he's taking, not a gold base. So PiLiPiLi needs to defend, and if he can, again, he'll be in a really good spot. He's going to pull up here. The motion core is nowhere to be found, but Adepts left behind. Nice positioning and a solid defense so far. Yeah,
it's a pretty reasonable position. But as this game goes forward and forward, you know, PiLiPiLi needs to have a real serious plan about bringing an end to this. I mean, with +1 attack, finishing 3 gateways and a warp prism, maybe this is where he's looking to get it done, because Liberators are going to start coming out soon. And, well, as we all know, it's
I've seen this before, Nate.
One of the most ridiculous units we've got for Terran.
He's doing it. There's a gateway explosion. The warp prism's going to be so that he can warp in across the board. He's defended fairly well. A couple of drops did nothing at the third, and also he did pick off that medevac. So I feel like PiLiPiLi thinks there's some kind of timing here in alignment with that +1 attack. There's no tech behind this. He's just going to go for a huge gateway timing attack.
Yeah, I think it sounds about right. I mean, the fusion core is on the way. You know, like I said, once you get that Liberator range upgrade, Protoss tiers just start flowing like, you know, water from Niagara Falls, man.
Let the
everywhere.
salt flow.
Exactly.
Dude, man.
Exactly.
And now open field Liberators, which is not the best, but he needs all hands on deck. And we'll see if PiLiPiLi can work his way around this. He's going to try to shade forward. Blinks in underneath. That was a hyper-aggressive choice there. He's going to attack the army full
all the
front.
Stalkers focused down. He can't kill the Liberator now.
Yeah, and it's doing so much damage. But he's going to get behind it here. And it looks like there's just too much stuff.
That Liberator got solo. He whooped in 3 more Stalkers. Perfect focus fire down from Polt. Like this third base, okay, lift it. Liberators are on the way. More Liberators come out, the better chance Polt has this game. But you know what? This army of massive depth is actually getting a lot of work done. That investment into the fusion core and the second starport cut out a potential additional wave of Marines and Marauders that Polt might have been able to use. But I still feel like Liberators alone should be able to help lock this defense.
Oh, the Adepts are getting on top of the depot. Polt's saying, yeah, let's do it. Let's fight right here. It is past the Liberator. I think Polt will win this fight with those medevacs. The question was, is he going to take too much damage? But with the Marauders tanking most of that damage, I think that's a fairly good trade for him. He wants those adepts off the board. He doesn't want them to be at play.
Yeah. And I think what's just so brilliant is the way he's been target firing the Stalkers. He's saying, you are not going to kill my Liberators, so if you want to continue to fight me with your Adepts on the ground, that's fine. My Liberators will kill him in 2 volleys. No big deal. 11 SCVs have gone down so far in this battle. He's ahead a good amount of workers. It's through a 3-base versus 3-base, but you know what? He didn't kill that Fusion Core, and that actually would have been a cash money play, considering... Really? I think so, because if he has to fall back now, Liberator range is about to start. I mean, Polt is either going to... Without the worker count, sure, I feel like he can rely on this Liberator range that he has just started to basically say, once he has that up, you're not blinking in to kill those. And he didn't lose almost any of those Liberators. That's
so many Liberators.
It's so huge because now you're not taking a shot and then taking another one. It's every unit that can attack air based on the way the AI works, it's going to be insta-gibbed by those Liberators.
And there is no follow-up from PiLiPiLi. There's no Dark Shrine. There's just nothing. He's just going with this. He's not even doing another upgrade on that Forge. So he's pretty all in on this attack here as well. And Polt down, it was a lot of Harvesters, but he's the one that's been building them, and all of a sudden that gap has actually shrunk. He's not that down in supply either. In fact, the difference is really in those Harvesters themselves. Armies are pretty equal here.
Yeah. On the ground, he has a force that can compete, but more and more Liberators come out. And if you don't have Stargate, Liberator range finishes as a Protoss.
You can be in a lot of trouble.
Might as well tap out. It's borderline impossible to break this without some sort of Tempest fleet or other absurd armies.
Wow.
Gonna blink the Stalkers in. Liberators getting in a tremendous amount of damage. The Marines and Marauders push through. I mean, maybe you can run to the natural. You're not gonna win this fight. Force the Liberators to unsiege and pray, but look at the Stalkers. He's systematically focus fired all of them down. It's just the Depths left, and the Liberators mop up easy peasy. GG. Polt goes up 2-0. He's very, very specific about which units he wanted to kill because he knows I lose my ground army, you lose your ground army, and I have Liberators that you can't kill. You're not ending this game, and I have another shot. And of course, without that Stargate tech, it is so difficult to deal with Liberators.
And that's rough. PiLiPiLi was in a spot both those games. I think more so game 2, where it's like, maybe if he pulls back, defends, techs up a little bit, something. He has to have an answer for those Liberators on some level, but fighting into them did not seem to be the right one.
Now we're loaded in Dust Towers for game number 3. This guy trying to at least put a point on the board. Give it up for Psystorm's PiLiPiLi.
Got some fans out there. And in a dominant 2-0, looking to march on in the round of 16, it's Envious Polt. Blinded by the light no more. This guy's seeing just fine.
He has his infrared eyeballs ready.
Sees souls, man. Yeah. All he does is see souls. Targets and destroys them
even
systematically.
Even through monitors, through computer monitors.
He just doesn't matter. He can sense it. He's like a hunter beast
these days. So, this obviously was a really tough draw for PiLiPiLi to get. So I do want to ask you, you come to a tournament like this. This is such a cool thing that we have here, being the first DreamHack in North America. It's also, for a lot of the players that came here, one of the first times that you get to play in an open bracket. You kind of face the bracket RNG as well. And PiLiPiLi, we know he's a competitor. He's played in other tournaments, but this curiosity, you've played in a lot of MLGs such yourself. What's the worst draw you've ever just gotten? You show up, you don't know in advance. It's just you have to play this guy and he's going to destroy you.
I had a few of those actually in my day. I played Bomber in his prime, and that was. And the actually really sad thing about that one was not on stage, and I actually, through the magic of Dark Templar, came pretty close to beating. We had a couple of base trade games that were really exciting, but he just was able to float around on Shakir's plateau, and I couldn't sword swing him down. That was actually kind of close. I mean, I played Boxer, and I was like, I can do this.
Okay.
No, Boxer thrashed me. Lociro was one of the top Zergs at the time. I actually took a game off of him.
If you play in open tournaments, I mean, I guess in online cups it's easier to see, but you kind of run into these things all the time.
Yep.
I remember the first time that the Kespa players came to play, I was like, yeah, I'm so excited, another MLG I can play in. And then my first opponent, round 1, STX sold deer. I'm like, well, glad I came, At least I had the rest of the day to myself. It was fun.
There's an experience in and of itself that's kind of fun.
It's still cool to show up and get thrashed like that sometimes as well.
Yeah.
Especially as a fan.
You don't want it to happen too often, and it does suck when you are actually a pro gamer.
Yeah, I mean, for PiLiPiLi, you know, it's obviously a lot worse because this is his bread and butter. You know?
Right.
It's what he does. It's his thing.
With a different draw, he could make it into the round of 16 or even 8.
Yeah,
and then it's like,
I think
oh
for
my
sure.
gosh.
When you look at the players in the round of 32, you know, some of them were slipping out of those less difficult groups, especially that because you can only have so many, you can only spread them out so much.
Yeah. So he's gone with standard play both the 2 games. I mean, the kind of 3-base timing attack in game 2.
It feels like the same exact thing this game as well so far.
And you know, it's actually as weird as it sounds to say, looking at this 0-2. That is probably his best way to play it. And I think in both game 1 and 2, as we said, I feel like he had chances to win. It was his best opportunity. I don't think PiLiPiLi would have his best chance to beat Polt if he did succumb to that weakness and is like, okay, I'm going to cheese you, Polt. I don't want to play a long game with you because you're so good. I'm going to try to get that quick, decisive win. So many people fall for that trap.
And if we consider what made that game a little bit better for PiLiPiLi, a lot of it also came down. He was able to get a nice wide open fight on the third base. This is Dust Towers. That doesn't happen. You have a ramp that leads into the third. Polt's going to have his army pre-spread there. You know, when we get to that stage, and I think that this is also another map that's really, really good for Liberator-based play. You know, you put the Freedom Zone on that ramp. It's like, well, what are you going to do if I scan and kill your observer?
You're not coming up here.
Yeah, you're dead.
It's also good behind mineral lines, but this is also this is like the macro map too, and PiLiPiLi has wanted to go in that direction, as has Polt, to be fair, in the first 2 games. So I kind of want to see what happens here. He still is opening up with that Blink Soccer, but it doesn't have to be a timing attack. That can be a, you know, I know you like to open up with Medivacs and just kind of do some light harass and probe and see where I'm at. I can punish that. We've almost seen that in the last couple games. In fact, we did see that. I think that the 2 Medivac drop in game 2, I think we can call it punish. He lost a Medevac and
he lost the Medevac. Most of the units that were there, he only escaped with 1. Didn't really do much damage.
Yeah.
So he's made some good plays. I have to say, if you're trying to take inspiration from other Protosses, you're like, well, man, how did Neeb beat Polt 3 times in the last 6 months? Like, well, he actually just played really sick macro games, and you know, which is also weird to say because Neeb is also one of the only Protoss players that we see in broadcasting games use disruptors against Terran.
Yep.
But I guess he's just got to say, well, man, I got to man up, see if I can just beat him head to head. Seems to be the only way. I don't think cheesing Polt is ever a good idea, unless you're Korean. That's you know, it's his kryptonite. He can't really get away with his sort of weird builds that he does against non-Koreans when he has to go up against them.
I don't even know how to begin to analyze that. I love that matchup with Polt versus those guys because Polt does play a different kind of brand of TvP.
You kind of have to.
Yeah, some guys get the better. We're going to have that kind of middle map clash again. PiLiPiLi very good about saying, sure, take some of my shields. I'm going to take some of your health. There's no Medevacs here just yet, so all of these units that are being hurt or lost is further damaging the potential for this attack. Of course, there are a couple of Medevacs speeding up there, I believe, to join with them. But Polt scouts that third, and it's got to make him a little bit nervous.
Yeah, there's that Resonating Glaives. There's that +1 attack. This is, if we really think about it,
you might do it again.
It's been the same build from both players all 3 games pretty much. You know, this early bio push, the fast blink with the third. And of course, in game 1, we didn't see it reach the +1 attack Resonating Glaives phase. And then in game 2, it did a good amount of work. But like we were saying earlier, even if it's the same exact setup as game 2, he doesn't have the benefit of the open third base that he doesn't need high ground vision for. So, you know, something like this Observer becomes extremely more important because the only other way to get vision on that ramp is to teleport all your adepts. And then you're like, well, now I have to wait another 30 seconds before I consider attacking.
Very well said. And the Observer does see that the army's retreating. That's actually also, by the way, just a good sigh of relief because, again, that Polt army is so dangerous out there. He's a big counterattack Terran. He's very comfortable saying, okay, we'll base trade. Terran plays very strong with that. Kill a couple of pylons, all of a sudden you're not making any units, and now I'm killing Nexus, and if I can hold you inside my base on a ramp or a couple of Widow Mines, GG. But that Observer saw the army coming back this way, but then lost track of it a little bit and sees nothing inside that third, so he has to believe that that game plan is possible. Lots of gateways, by the way, going down for PiLiPiLi. There's that Warp Prism. Nate, I think you're right. I think we're just going to see it again.
It's a mirror setup, right? The Fusion Core is on the way, Liberator production has begun, and PiLiPiLi, once his Warp Prism finishes, is going to try to make a play. I mean, his best bet is that Polt just overextends a little bit outside this third and like gives him those 2 Medevacs, the Marines and Marauders. But I mean, Polt wouldn't be a champion if he made mistakes like that, you know?
You'd think so, but here we go. He's running into him a little bit. The Stalkers are going to probably bounce backward. I know they kind of want to be aggressive here.
This would be if he could get those Medevacs, that'd be a huge pickup, but just barely going to miss them.
And he does just miss them. Behind this, +1 attack has finished. There are those Liberators.
The Observer is there, but this is still, you know, I mean, if he could make this attack before those medevacs unloaded and rejoin the army, maybe he has a big enough supply advantage. But once those unload, those Marines and Marauders come out to heal, that becomes too much bio, I think, to just try to blink straight in. And look,
I mean, he's going to go for it.
2 more Liberators are about to finish as well. This is going to be it. It's all or nothing on this game.
A huge, huge army, and he does go with the adepts trying to get past the Liberators perhaps, or maybe he wants to trigger them themselves.
Just trying to spread them out. Stalkers are going to blink in, try to focus fire, get 1 Liberator knocked down. Second one is going to be focused as those Stalkers continue to melt away. I mean, the adepts are able to get a lot of damage done because he focused down all of the Stalkers. And look, he kills the Stalkers, lifts up, he has 2 more Liberators finishing. He's like, all right, let's block off the main base ramp. The adepts are going to throw their shades, pull back. So it's
like the same problem over again. He loses all the
thing.
Stalkers. He's going to have to make them. Adepts are okay in this situation, but not amazing. There's the 1 Stalker.
Yeah, and it's pretty much a mirror of what just happened before. He has that 3rd base pressure. He kills a good number of SCVs, or at least prevents
This
a
is
lot
a
of
bit
mining.
different, though, getting in there. But then the Liberators just quickly turn around. And
he's being herded like cattle on a ranch in control.
Oh, jeez. He does open up the door here, but he's not actually really paying that much attention to the adepts, and he's just warping in more adepts,
Slow
by the way.
Zealots get warped in, not going to do too much here. Stalkers die. I mean, it's just brilliant how he focuses the Stalkers, and then he's like, if I can't fight your army, but I have Liberators in the air, I am not dead.
And Polt took
now
very little damage, by the way, guys. He's actually up about 40 or 50 supply. The key unit, the Stalker, is just not in significant numbers here, and there's going to be more probes being transferred. Like, Polt's starting to do, or excuse me, not Polt, PiLiPiLi's starting to do the emergency thing where it's like, okay, I build probes now. I mean, but he has no tech to fall back on, no upgrades.
And Liberator range is done.
Yeah, he's in so much trouble.
At this point, that Observer is really nice. It gives him a free unit. I was going to say, you know, if you're Polt, any Terran, really, if you're ever in this situation, you have Liberator range and you've held this off. Like, first, you could just move your army across the map like Polt might be about to do, or you send a Liberator behind their mineral line. It does towers, and you put a Freedom Zone on that, and they don't mine anymore. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
They just don't.
Yeah, there is nothing that can actually get a Liberator behind a mineral line on this map unless you have a Stargate. With the range upgrade, of course.
Of course. Which can be rough, but Polt knows. He knows this game's about to be over. It's a formality. This is a nice little drop here from PiLiPiLi. Could do some damage. There's only Marines here, so again, but too little too late, because across the map is the Doomsday Force. And PiLiPiLi, with those ranged Liberators, they're not even going to shut down bases. They're going to just shut down his life. Like, this is, I need you to leave the tournament, my friend.
Yeah, he's parked Liberators over his PC on the stage, I can see. It's like, it's time to go.
Yeah, and he's just going to crawl him forward. And there's no tech here from PiLiPiLi to deal with this. No Storm. Even Archons don't tank Liberators well at all,
I just like that Polt still does this thing where he's going to slowly creep over the Liberators because he doesn't want to even consider the possibility that he just bum rushes up this ramp and somehow Storm is done, you know?
Right.
Or somehow something else really weird happens. Like, no, I mean, if I put my Liberators here before I attack, no matter how much of a lead I think I have, I'm not going to die to a couple of units blindsiding me or anything weird. So
he's the ongoing spoon Terran, man.
Yep.
Thorzane.
Well, it's like, I don't know.
We miss you, bud. But this is going to be it. PiLiPiLi is going to try to march forward. He blinks down the low ground. That has not been a good idea a single time against Polt.
Nope.
And his army is annihilated. Polt does not know what it's like to lose in the round of 32. This guy just simply does not do it. He's going to march forward. PiLiPiLi with some interesting ideas, but unfortunately, he got liberated.
GG is called, and Polt will advance on here.